You know what they say about Ireland? It's one of the most expensive places in Europe.
And I think we have just found that out, haven't we, Norm?
Yeah, it's taken us a long time to figure out how to put together a 2 week vacation that's cost effective, that won't break the bank. And we think we have come up with a great idea and we want to share that with you so that you can go and enjoy the Emerald Isle.
So, we will actually be giving you a full breakdown of all the costs, any tips that we've got, and anything that we feel might be helpful for you.
So, this will tell you how to travel economically in Ireland, have a wonderful time, and not have to stay in a hostel.
Oh, I think we're getting a bit too old for that, Norm. We're no longer 18 to 25.
Love our luxury hotels,
Yes, we
and
do.
that's what we had on this trip.
We certainly did.
So, let's get into it. Ireland. A lot of people want to go and see Ireland, but Ireland is made up of two countries. So you have the Republic of Ireland, which is the vast majority of Ireland, and then right at the north you have Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK. So we decided we wanted to do it all. So we did a tour of Southern and Northern Ireland, and it was with a company called Exotica. So, what was the tour made up of, Teen?
Well, basically, it was a 14-day tour, and we actually had 12 nights in the country, and it was actually called a Celtic journey, and it kind of fitted all the things that we wanted to see, wasn't it?
But you don't have to just book with somebody like Exotica. There are a number of tour companies doing this, from Senior Discovery Tours, Wing Buddy, Expat Explorers, and Royal Irish Tours.
And in fact, that was something that everywhere we went, we saw lots of other tours and lots of buses everywhere.
We did. So, included in our tour, which is what made it attractive to us, were the flights and the transfers from the airports.
And the other thing was that the hotels were included and that we got breakfast in every hotel that we stayed in.
Also, entrance fees to the attractions. So, we did go in some castles and manor houses, and they were included in our fee. There were a few extras that they tacked on because time permitted, and we had to pay extra for those.
But also, too, Norm, our trip to the provincial park, to the Cliffs of Moher and the Giant's Causeway. Those were all really big attractions, and all those fees were included in our tour.
They were, and they were excellent attractions to go to.
They were.
So, two currencies in Ireland. You're going to have euros for the Southern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, and you're going to have UK pounds in Northern Ireland. So we did take a mix of currencies, so we would have cash.
Yeah.
So that if we wanted to tip our bus driver, the coach driver, or taxis, or buy small items like in a convenience store, we could use cash. But cards are widely accepted, and you can tap using your Canadian or American credit card. So you maybe don't need as much cash as we took.
No, that's very true, but it did make it easier, particularly if we were having a meal in a pub, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was easier to use the card, and it worked really well for us, didn't it?
It did. There was just a few curiosities on some of the Interact machines or the debit card machines that you were tapping with your credit card. It would say, do you want your currency? So for us, it would be Canadian, billed in Canadian, or did we want it billed in euros or pound sterling? So we tended to choose bill it in euros for us so that our bank would do the conversion back home and maybe get a better rate.
And also, we should point out that there were quite a lot of ATM machines all over the place. So if you didn't take enough cash with you, there are lots of places where you could get cash.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So generally, we had our breakfast, and they were basically a full Irish breakfast available. Most of the hotels had breakfast buffets, which consisted of everything you would see on an Irish breakfast, from sausage, bacon, baked beans, black puddings, white pudding, scrambled egg primarily, although the odd hotel would make an egg to order, like a fried egg. There was potato bread, was it?
Yeah. And they nearly all had what I'd call a sort of cold section too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Where you could get sliced cheeses and meats, and a lot of them even had cucumber and tomato. A lot of them also had little pastries, like little croissants. But I think part of the bit that I really liked was the coffee. Norm.
Yeah.
Every morning they had great coffee machines.
They did.
So Norm would get his Americano, and I alternated between a cappuccino and a latte. And I actually thought that was a very impressive choice we got.
It was.
Yeah.
So those coffee machines were in virtually every hotel. The odd one, they did bring a pot of coffee onto the table, but they nearly all had these automatic machines that you just went up and pressed a few buttons and got your drink. So we filled up on breakfast primarily, made that one of the main meals of the day. But during the day, we met up with another couple that we got on well with them, and they were from the US. So we would go to a convenience store maybe at lunchtime. There's Centra and there's Spar, and there's some that have gas stations with Circle K.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have this hot and cold deli counter. So you would able to get hot sausage rolls or quiche, or they would make a sandwich for you. We had a toasted cheese and ham sandwich one day.
That was great, wasn't it?
And then we would
Yeah.
take it from the store and find a little park with some benches, sit down with this other couple, and sneak the odd beer in public, which you're not allowed to do in the Republic of
Which we
Ireland.
did. And we also sort of got a selection of cheeses and crackers and grapes.
Yeah.
So between the hot food and the cheese and crackers, we had quite a few little picnics in the park, didn't we?
Yeah, so we were just
Yeah.
looking at a very, very
Yeah.
light lunch. And then at night, you were primarily on your own for dinner. And on the first part of the tour, we were getting to the hotel around 6:30. We were tired
Yeah.
from having been active all day. So we would just either grab something from one of those convenience stores and just eat it in our room, or go down to the bar. A lot of the places had restaurants, and we would order an appetizer, take that back to the room, have a beer and wine, and call it a day.
Yeah, because one thing we did find was once you'd been on the road, sort of leaving at like 8:30 in the morning, going to see all these wonderful sights, is that we were quite exhausted by the time we got to the hotel, weren't we?
It was a full day.
Yeah. I mean, they took us to so many places. It was, and some of the days, Norm, we did have a sit-down meal, sort of a lunch in a restaurant.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah.
coach drivers, he had a favourite place in one of the areas we were going, and he
That
said,
was-
did we all want to
Yeah.
go there for a lunch? So we did, and they had a big table, we all sat around it, there was 23 of us, and
It was great.
we had a really nice seafood chowder. We were on the coast,
Yeah.
fresh ingredients.
That was one of the best meals I think we both had, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was really nice. So that evening, again, we just had like cheese and crackers because we were really full up of having a big lunch that day.
So where did we visit when we went to Ireland, Teen?
Oh my goodness, we went everywhere. We saw Dublin and we saw Athlone and Galway. They
And
were a few.
and the Cliffs of Moher, Connemara, where Tina got a very nice Connemara marble bracelet
Bracelet
that some person bought you as a
that
surprise.
Norm bought, and it is just beautiful.
Connemara marble is
It's a big thing, isn't it?
it is, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful green color as
It's
well.
gorgeous.
Goes
really.
along with the Emerald Isle. We went to Killarney, Ring of Kerry, which was a big drive, about 100 kilometers. That was a really good day.
Yeah, it was. We also visited Cork. We went to Kilkenny.
Great beer, great castle.
We went to Belfast. We very briefly saw the Titanic Museum.
We did.
We weren't there very long. It was more like a bathroom stop, have a quick look at the museum. But
We could have gone
Yeah.
back in the late afternoon to do the tour, but
again, we were too tired, weren't we?
pretty much.
Yeah.
We also had a curious stop at the Dark Hedges, which
Yes.
featured in the Game of Thrones. And those were, 178-year-old beech trees.
They were fabulous, weren't they? Very
really were.
exciting to see, to know that basically you were kind of on a movie set.
Yep.
It was great. And they also had a wonderful little coffee shop there
I was about to say that.
where we got the best coffee and I'm going to say was it a lemon muffin?
Yeah, with
With
a blob of cream,
Cream
on
on
top.
top.
But inside,
It was delicious.
it had lemon curd.
Oh, it was good, wasn't it?
Hardly any calories, I believe.
Just eat it quick, Norm.
So
But that was a
after that,
highlight.
we went to Londonderry, Donegal.
Yeah, and then we also went to Enniskillen. We stayed a night at Enniskillen. We went to Sligo, which was a lovely little town, and we also visited the coast. That was a distance, maybe about 10 miles from Sligo. We
Yeah.
actually went on the coast, and that was really pretty.
And then the Giant's Causeway, which was another highlight after the Cliffs of Moher.
Yeah.
And here was us doing a little YouTube video on the Giant's Causeway, and this woman was looking at us, and then after we finished our little selfie thing, she came over and said that she'd been following us for a long time and didn't make comments on our videos, but has been following them. And
It was great. So a shout out to Michelle.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and saying hello. It was really nice to meet you.
And at the Cliffs of Moher, we met a beautiful couple from Melbourne, Australia.
Yes, we
and
did.
They stopped by and had a chat. They were doing a big tour.
Yeah, they were gone from Australia for I'm going to say about 3 months. They were going
Yeah.
all over the place. A very ambitious tour.
Yeah.
We will say that both those two places, the Cliffs of Moher and Giant's Causeway, were both pretty busy places, weren't
Yeah,
they?
they were.
And remember, we were just here in May. I imagine in the heart of the summer, they'd be really, really busy. There was a lot of people when we were there.
But both of those
Yeah.
places have great visitor centres. So
Yeah.
you can eat there,
Yes.
you can have coffee there, and you can buy whatever souvenir you would like to buy.
And one thing we might recommend as a tip, especially if you don't have a lot of time at Giant's Causeway, is they operate a wonderful electric shuttle bus
Yep.
that takes you from the top right down to the bottom and back. And you just pay, I think it's £1 each.
It's
£1
£1
each.
pound each.
Each way.
So it's £2 round
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah.
And it's well worth it because
Yeah.
you could be walking for 40 minutes.
Oh,
and
easily.
it's
way.
uphill coming
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, so that's a great tip.
So
well
our
worth
tour
it.
guide told us take the bus because we didn't have enough time there to walk there and back from the visitor centre and the coach park.
And I think too that a lot of people might be wondering, Norm, about the flights that we arrived on there. We were very fortunate with the tour that we booked. We actually got direct flights from Toronto to Dublin. So it was perfect, wasn't it?
And
No
that was Air
layovers.
Canada. Although
Yeah.
Exotica had ticketed us through Lufthansa, and Lufthansa is a Star Alliance member, so the flight was operated by Air Canada, and we were able to use our Aeroplan numbers to get points from both of the flights. But we specifically looked on this tour with Exotica for direct flights. There was only one,
Yeah.
and all the other flights went through other
Yeah.
stopover countries.
Yeah, we have a thing that we really prefer direct flights wherever we're going. So this fitted our trip just perfect, didn't it?
So how much did all this ballyhoo cost us, teen, in the Emerald Isle?
Well, I knew you were going to ask me that, Norm. So our trip cost us the grand total of 6,800 Canadian dollars, or 3,400 each.
Which we thought was tremendous value.
We did. Because we will be honest with you that we have often looked to go to Ireland, and we will see a return flight trip,
Yeah.
won't we? And the price was great. As soon as we started to look into the prices of the hotels, they were so expensive. Obviously, when you book through a tour company like this, they must get a lot better rates than you would if you were booking just on your own.
To give you an idea, we were searching where the hotel was on Google Maps as we were pulling up to it. And Google will tell you the amount for that night.
Oh, yes.
And most of them were over 200 euros a night, up to 240 euros a night. So if you multiplied all that and then converted it to Canadian dollars, there was no way we could put this tour together anywhere close to the $3,400 Canadian each. So that's where we feel the value is. You're getting the group discounts.
And I think we will point out there are just a couple of extras that aren't included in the tour. For example, if you want to give tips to the tour guide or to your coach driver, tips are not included, are they?
And we tend to do that because we are grateful. The driver is loading and unloading your luggage onto the bus every day, and driving you through very, very narrow streets. And both the drivers, because basically it was two tours that was put together as one, so people could buy the first tour of just Southern Ireland and then leave, or you could go and do the Northern Ireland trip and then leave. We did both of them because that was a tour they'd put together, and both drivers were very good. Both tour guides were good, although the Northern Ireland one was probably the best,
Yeah,
because
she was
she
great.
came incredibly
Yeah.
prepared with handouts and everything else. Very experienced tour guide, and a lot of enthusiasm as well.
Yeah, she was great, wasn't she? And I think another thing too, on our particular tour, ours just included breakfasts. So as an extra for us, we were on the hook for the money for lunches and dinners. But that was perfectly okay because we knew that in advance, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
And if you are going to do the tour that we did, you are obliged to get the UK ETA in your passport, even though nobody checks it. It's one of these curious things. We flew direct into Dublin. We went through immigration in Dublin. They never asked about ETA. They never asked where we were going, other than how long were we staying. So we said we were going to be there 14 days in total. So there's a cost for the ETA, which is around $20 US.
Yes.
But you do need to have that in case you're stopped in Northern Ireland, which probably you never will be.
No, and of course it's an open border, so you can just freely drive or walk from one to the other. There is nobody stopping and checking.
No.
But we are pointing it out because on our paperwork from Exotica it said we had to have it. So because we were doing, as Norm said, both north and south, we've got it. But the good news is, Norm, we're good for 2 years now.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's good.
We can go to the UK or what
Yeah,
have
so
you.
we've got that now. So that was an extra that you had to add on to your trip. But really, there weren't an awful lot of extras onto the actual cost.
No, it
of
was
the trip.
just if
Yeah.
you wanted a coffee or a
Yeah.
snack or buying some souvenirs.
Souvenirs,
There,
yeah.
there was a couple of extras that one of our bus drivers took us to. One a large stately home, and we did have to pay for that. But he went in and got us group rates.
Yeah, that was something that he had worked out and asked, would we like to do it? And because everybody said they would, we paid for that because it wasn't on the normal itinerary of the trip that we were on. But it was great. We had a fabulous time there, didn't we? It was lovely.
We really did. So we're seeing these land tours as an alternative to cruise ships.
Yes.
We get to see as much, but it's more intensive. You're in the country, and we probably saw 2 to 3 times the number of towns than you would on a cruise ship. So we got a really good feel for the country and for the people, and it was very immersive, and it wasn't that difficult to walk. Yes,
No.
sometimes you were walking uphill,
Yeah.
but you weren't walking miles every day to attractions. So don't be afraid of that.
No, because we were sort of on and off the bus. We would start off after breakfast, get to a place, get off, walk around, get back on the bus, then go to the next place. So it was a bit of going on the bus, visit the next place, back on the bus. And before you knew it, every day was a full day and we were seeing so much. And we were very fortunate because we had been there in a heat wave and the weather was fantastic.
Stunning blue skies.
It was just gorgeous, which we didn't really think we would get going to Ireland.
So the days run from getting on the bus at 8:30.
Yeah.
On the second part of the tour, we were getting to the hotels around 4:30.
Yeah.
And then an optional city walk if you wanted to do that. The first part of the tour, we were getting to the hotel about 6 or 6:30, maybe even 6:45 at some points,
Yeah.
which we did feel was a little bit late.
Yeah, and sometimes we did feel that the stop possibly for lunch was a little later, bearing in mind that we had breakfast at like 7 o'clock in the morning. But, you know, you can buy snacks, like get some potato chips or take some fruit from breakfast if you
Right.
think you might need something to keep you going.
So we would highly recommend a tour like this if you would like to see Ireland and get a deeper sense of the country, look at the countryside. We would highly recommend. And the things to look for is some tour companies don't offer flights, so you'd be paying for flights on top of their advertised price. This is why we like the tour that we got. It was virtually all inclusive with the transfers, the flights, the hotels.
Yeah, pretty much, wasn't
Yeah.
it? There wasn't an awful lot less that we had to put on top.
So there's another bucket
Yeah.
list ticked off.
And it was
Trip to Ireland.
fantastic, wasn't it?
So we hope you're keeping well.
And staying safe.
And until the next time,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.